Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. We have a very special edition on HR Mentorship Learning Series, and the topic we'll be looking at is how to prepare and ace an HR role interview. How to prepare and ace an HR role interview. Our facilitator for tonight is Pearl Umer, and she is based in Abuja, even though our coverage is pan-Nigeria. Pearl is the HR manager at AYM Shafa, a downstream oil and gas firm. I would like to just read a bit more about her so that you'll be encouraged to even pay more attention and listen. And I'll be reading about her so that we can get better acquainted with her. Pearl is a business advisor and a certified human resource professional with vast experience spanning the financial sector, including banking and pensions industry, media, logistics, as well as oil and gas. She has well over 8 or 9 quality years experience in the human resources and administrative function, which cuts across domains like talent management, project management, employee engagement, organizational development, learning and development, performance management, procurement, office administration, facility management, as well as customer service and retail marketing. Pearl holds a master's degree in investment and risk management from the University of East London. She is a certified professional of the Society for Human Resource Management, SHRM. She is a member of the Institute of Business Advisors Southern Africa, IBASER, and a member of the Institute of Bankers South Africa, IOBSA. Again, she is a panelist of a Pan-African talk show, The Boss, which shows on DSTV channel 178 by 1 p.m. and 9 p.m. West African time. She is currently the manager at AYM Shafa Holdings, a downstream oil and gas company. With pleasure, I hand over the virtual lectern to my colleague, my friend, and my sister, Pearl Umer. You have the floor.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Oliavi. I was busy smiling because I said, okay, is that me you're talking about? Well, welcome everyone who has joined in. I know that some of you here are HR people, of course, most of us, and some people here are not HR people. So even though my topic is how to, prepare, give me a second, how to prepare and ace an HR role interview, non-HR people will also have some takeaways. So I just hope this presentation will be worth everyone's time and worth everyone's while. If you can hear me clearly, please just write on the chat box, just say yes, so that I can continue. Thank you very much. I can see your yeses. Okay, to start with, I'm going to tell you the importance of preparation, right? Typically, we do not prepare for a battle at the battlefront. If you try that, it means you plan to lose that battle or the war. So you see that half of the battle towards achieving victory in your interview, in your career, in even your personal field, it involves a great deal of preparation, which means that for you to go into interviews, you have to be prepared. And I'm stressing this because I know that a lot of HR, we take it for granted. We take this for granted sometimes because we are usually the interviewers. We are usually at the other side of the table interviewing people. So because we know how well we interview people, we just believe, you know what, wake us up, we'll go there and we're going to smash it. And I can tell you that it is not always the case. Sometimes you need to prepare because not everyone interviews like you. Not everyone is you. Not every company is looking for what you have to offer when it comes to interviews. So you might meet different people, and that's why I'm saying you cannot take it for granted. We all have to be prepared. Now I'm going to share you some tips of how to prepare. I have broken it down into 6 parts, and we're going to take it one by one. I intend to make this class as interactive as possible. Sorry, this session as interactive as possible, you know, to get us to pick our brains, to get us to think creatively and come up with ideas. Okay, and I have to break it to you that the more thorough your preparation, the most likely your chance of being hired, like I have stressed before. You may be very great with you may be very great with your HR skills, but interview skills is also something that you have to possess. Where you do not possess it, you have a chance of losing the job to someone who has done better preparation, right? So you always must try to lean into what we call a competitive advantage. What advantage do you have over those that you are competing with, over those people that they are also interviewing alongside you? At every point, you need to key into that competitive advantage and take nothing for granted. So I'll just give you the 6 steps that we have in preparing for interview, so that you know that you're adequately prepared before we go into acing your interview. So number 1, research. And like I have stated, the role of research can never be overemphasized. You need to research the company you're interviewing with. And now it goes beyond just, going to their website, seeing what they do, so that if they ask you, what do you know about this company, you can speak. It goes way beyond that. The thing we're researching about a company is that when you have done your research, you have gone to their website, you have gone to their social media platforms, even their LinkedIn. You can even go as far as going to Glassdoor. There is this Niger, I can't remember the name, Niger something, to find out what people are saying about the company. Why is this important in your preparation? It's important because when you research about a company, it kind of boosts your confidence, knowing that any question that would arise, about the company, you can speak about it. Now, the beautiful thing of HR is that human resources is human resources, regardless of what sector you are in. The differences may be with, the sector and what they do, and the differences may also come with the company culture. But the core of human resources is the same everywhere. Right. So you need to research to know what they do. If you're coming, say, for instance, from an educational sector, you're going to a financial sector, you need to be familiar with what happens in the financial sector. Not just that, you need to find out what is it about them, what is the news. Now, you need to bear in mind that everyone, hopefully, that comes for that interview will also have researched the company. So what gives you an edge? What gives you an edge are the things that are not said on their website, right? You can go to the news. And one of my early interviews, in the early bit of my career, I had gone for a chat before the main interview. And I think I talked too much. Sorry, it's one of the things I'm guilty of. I talked too much with the head of HR that was chatting with me. And by the time she started asking me things about the company, everything I had read had left my head. So I knew that that was a wrong start. And she told me, okay, go through the process. If you're successful, you better read about the company. Now, when they invited me for the interview, I went to find out even things about the company that the people interviewing me did not know. I knew all the awards they had received. They were stunned and they were saying, you did your homework. Okay, now let's go beyond the cliche, research your company. Another importance of researching this company is to also know what the company culture is. Now, you may be a wonderful HR person, right? Or if you're not even a HR person and you're here, you may have wonderful skills, but you might be a square peg in a round hole when it comes to the culture of the company. In doing that, you need to know, maybe from their socials. Luckily, we are in the HR mentorship group. And if you're not in the HR mentorship group and you're a HR person, after this presentation, you can reach out to me or the host, Oliemi, and we'll guide you on how to join. So the beauty of being in these groups is you can ask people. Some people may know somebody there and they can give you some hints or tell you some things about the company. as regarding their culture. For instance, if a place is very conservative, you know, they don't like anything flashy, showy, any kind of vibrance. They like maybe women that are a bit meek. You do not want to go there being bubbly. Now, yes, you may be a good fit, you may be everything wonderful, but you will not be a right fit for the culture. And this is also going to take me into the things I didn't want to mention, because I believe that everybody who prepares for an interview, you already know that you should get to the venue on time. You have to be punctual. You have to dress appropriately. Those are the things I don't want to burden myself telling us, because I know that we are supposed to know all of that. Now, another beauty of going to places early, you see the front desk officer. These are people that you do not take for granted. If you get to a place in good time, early, while you're waiting, you can have conversations with that front desk officer. If you're not able to do your research and find out things, to know the kind of company and the kind of culture, so that you can be that to them. During the interview, you can show that you are already a part of the culture, or that you are a cultural fit. These are all the reasons why you need to research, so that you don't go there and they're saying, okay, well, she knows what she's doing, or he knows what he's doing, but this person might struggle with our culture. So like I said, you need to research. And now we'll go to number 2, which is know your interviewers. Now, it is very, very important to know your interviewers. How typically would you know your interviewers, you might ask? And knowing your interviewers, okay. I'll just look at this chart later so that it doesn't distract me, right? Good. Knowing your interviewers, you can know this by when you're copied to a mail, right? When you're copied, usually when they're sending you an invite, those that would most likely interview you are copied also in that mail. Now, when you see their names, I usually advise that you go on their LinkedIn, go on their social media pages, check them out. Why are you checking them out? We HR people, we are used to profiling people, right? But another thing you also need to know is that sometimes you can profile people to know if you can work with them or how to win them over in an interview. I'll give you an example. If you look through any of your interviewers, profile, and you can maybe see things like this person, maybe our generation of people, this person belongs to the baby boomer. Now, in knowing the generations of different people, it helps you to know how to interact with them, right? So when you see some people that are maybe in their 50s and 60s, they do not receive things or perceive things in the way of people who are in their 30s or people who are even younger. You need to know what generation of people make up your interview panel, if there is a panel. And by knowing that, you would know how to channel yourself or channel your questions to tell them the kind of things that, make sense to them. For instance, you cannot have a young, generation of people, maybe from millennials to Gen Zs, for instance, and then you go there and then you are trying to tell them, you are using the personnel format, the old way of doing a HR that we call personnel now, and begin to answer in that way. They may look at you and say, this person is not a fit. So it is good to know about them, know their experiences. You can even see things that you have in common, such that when you are speaking, you can put some of these things. That is how you pick their interest, right? And it's something that I've always tried, and it always works for me. I like to say that I know the different generations of people and I can work with them. I know the way they reason. So once I see you and I know that there's something that has to, it could be a school that you attended that I know, I ensure that I highlight it when I'm speaking, because I know that I get your attention, immediately. Know about them, know their names. I will speak more of this in this section of how to ace. So I will just stop here. So I go to number 3, which is your job description alignment. Now, when you are sent an interview invite, if you are not sent a job description, it is very okay to request a job description. You need to know what they are looking out for, what skills they are looking out for. Now, in knowing these skills, I will advise that you carefully read through that job description, go through everything they're asking for, what they want, look at it and see how you align, to things like that. How do I align? Okay, here they're looking for someone maybe who can recruit, who will take care of the, the recruitment process end to end, the whole onboarding. Why are you doing this? You are doing this because if you're not really strong in a part of HR, then you can reach out to your HR friends who are all-rounders, who are generalists, to ask them questions, to say, okay, tell me more about this. Without doing this, and you just walk into an interview blindly, especially for those of us who are entry-level people who are not yet experienced in HR, or who are still, we're still maybe 2 years, 3 years, you don't just want to enter blindly, and they're asking some things that you have not done. Not only have you not done it, you cannot even speak to it. Now, the fact that you have not practiced something that they are talking about is not enough to deter you. And one thing I usually tell people is, whichever company you go to, you would learn on the job, right? So you may be very great at compensation and benefits, but when you go to a different company, the kind of softwares they use or the way they do their own is different. So you would have to learn that. So as a HR person, be prepared that you would learn on the job. You would learn how they do other things. So whatever it is, have your group of people, like this mentorship group, have them speak to your HR friends about things. When these are people that at any point, if you get the job or when you get the job, at any point where you encounter issues, you can reach out to them to ask them advice on how I should do this. But first, to even get that job, you need to be who they are looking for and ace that interview. So look at the job, ensure that it aligns with the skills you have. If it doesn't, if there are things you have that can make up for it, be able to do that. I'll just give you a little funny story. So I got back into the country from South Africa. I was there for 4 years. And then I got back and I was trying to get back into the HR space. So I went for an interview. And remember that I was out of touch with HR for a little while because I'd been away. And I was meeting with the MD CEO. Okay, so with the HR phase and other phases, I smashed that. And now the final phase was to meet with the CEO. And I went there and he was throwing me so many deep HR practices that I could not speak to. So for everything he threw to me, I always had something to say. I had something to say around it. Midway in the interview, he had to stop me and he said, you know what? I just want to say something. I think you missed your calling in sales and marketing because you are a very good marketer, like you know how to sell yourself. And so while he was saying he wasn't convinced enough to offer me the HR job, he decided that he wanted to give me wealth management to talk to their big clients because he was impressed with the way I was selling myself to him, right? So this is what I'm talking about, that be able to look at the job description and align, and any gap you have or anything you do not know about, speak to people even before the interview. So quickly, I'll go to number 4. You need to review your CV. Now, some people, especially some people that I have interviewed, they make this mistake, There are things that sometimes we pad up our CVs, which is not usually advisable, but I can understand when some people do that. But it's not enough to just pad up your CV. You must be able to speak to everything and answer every question it is about your CV. For instance, yes, you may have done HR, but the things, your role wasn't so robust, right? And then you go in there, and then when you're preparing your CV, you have to put some things so that your CV is attractive. You make it very robust, some of the things that you did not do. And you come in and they say, oh, okay, from your CV, I can see that you worked in maybe an engineering company. So do you want to speak to us about something? Now imagine how embarrassing it will be when you are asked that question and you can't speak to it, but it is written on your CV. So that's not advisable. Look at your CV and ensure that your CV, you can speak to every single thing it is. Where you also have a gap, you should be able to explain why there was a gap and what you were doing in that period. For instance, in my CV, there was a gap when I was in South Africa, but then I got into media and I was a panelist on a TV show where, so when I'm asked, okay, what happened from here to here? You were not in HR, what happened? Oh, I was out of the country. I relocated with my husband. However, I was able to speak, and the speaking the kind of things we did in the panel, sometimes I had to also give HR advice. It didn't end there. Also, during that process, I developed myself. I got my SHRM. So when you want to speak about a gap, I'm able to tell you what I was able to do, but I'm SHRM certified. It takes off their attention to the gap. So please review your CV. Don't just pay people to do CVs for you, and then you go there and you cannot speak to it. Already, it shows that you're not even honest, and it disqualifies you at the get-go. So number 5, and here is I'm going to make this a bit more participative. I want us to understand the HR. You need to understand all the HR components and functions, even if it's not all, at least the core ones, the ones that everybody knows and expects you to be able to speak about. I've been in an interview for a head of HR position where the MD CEO was interviewing me, and the way he was interviewing, and I think there were some board members as well, it was virtual. The way they were interviewing, they just say things like, talk to me about performance management. That's all they're asking. So you would speak, and you will talk till you're tired of talking. When you're done, they will say, talk to me about recruitment. So you don't know the kind of people that you will encounter that are not asking you specific questions. So you must be able to speak about every part of HR. Well, if it is a HR specialist role, yes, you must understand your role 100% and be a specialist in that role. So everything that pertains to that role, you must be able to speak with. And like I have said, when you do not have some experience in all of these roles, speak to other HR professionals with well-rounded experience. And even if you're here and you're not in HR, it also applies to whatever role or job function you're doing. You must be able to speak to everything, that's every component of that particular role. So I have listed some of the core HR functions. And what I want us to do, please, and let us quickly do it with the charts. When I call something, I want us to think of something new that you can add to any of these functions. And I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about. For instance, when it comes to recruitment and onboarding, please, I want us to key into our innovative and creative aspects now. Every company has their recruitment and their onboarding process, right? But from the way you are even sent an invite, you can easily tell if there are some gaps in their recruitment processes. Now, if you can see that there are some gaps, it is a plus for you, because these are some kind of things that when you're speaking, you can tell them, oh, I noticed this. I suggest that we can also add this to make the whole experience, the interview or the recruitment experience better, or the onboarding experience better. So what I'm going to want us to do now is for recruitment and onboarding, for every time that I have an interview, I always think of something I can add, a value I can add to each of these roles to a company. Recruitment and onboarding. Now, when we onboard people newly, you can assign them bodies that would help their system, right? You can assign them bodies that once they come in after their induction, this body carries them along and helps them, understand the culture of the company and to assimilate better. Now, that is an addition of something that may be present in the company or may not be. But it is better that you are telling them some new things and suggesting some things that they can use to make this experience better. It gives you that competitive edge. For instance, in the whole induction, there could be a suggestions of maybe your HRIS platform, whichever one you use, there could be an employee onboarding module on it. I know that things like Seamless HR and Easy HR Manager, they have those things where you can upload different presentation slides of different departments, or even videos, right? Video presentation, where each new employee would have to read that or go through the slides and there are questions asked after. And when you are done, it ticks for you that you have read up everything about that department. Questions are asked also so that you understand how you understand how the department functions. Now, this is a way that you can automate your induction processes. Now, these are things I have added to induction. So when it comes to learning and development, please, can you quickly write something new, something creative that you think you can add to a company's learning and development? Please write in the chat. I'll be reading it. Please note that there is no wrong answer here. And what we are also trying to do is, it's better you don't even get it correct here and you are corrected than you get to an interview and then you do not get things correct, because there may not be any chance to correct yourself. So with learning and development, can somebody please, or anybody or all of you, write something that you think you can add to learning and development of a company? Okay. I can see Kalataya assigning random online courses to correct skill gaps. Lovely. Anyone else? Please let's write so that we do not take a lot of time. That's a very good one, Kalataya. So I'll give you, for example, something I can add. Yes, creating random team and learning groups. This is lovely. Thank you for that, Prince. So these are things you can add. What I am trying to do now is that as we share this KSS initiative, Abiola, inbound training, lovely. Carry out training needs analysis to determine training needs of employees. Great. So what I'm trying to let us do is when people are writing these things, also look at the things that are not even happening in your company, or the things you are not doing, so that you can glean from them. What is something that I will add to learning and development? Yeah, assign learning bodies, lovely. Learning nuggets, I like that. Surveys from employees, putting employee certification bills, that is lovely. And this thing that Olua Fumilola has said, putting employee certification bills, I will come to that. I'm going to speak extensively on that because I'm going to use that to Christy. Oh, I see you. Encouraging employees to make use of online learning platforms like Udemy. Lovely. Applying the RD learning model. Lovely. Okay, so I would take from there. So I see that we all get the drift and we get the vibe, right? Making training as a component of succession planning. Beautiful. So what I'm trying to do here is, if you go to a place now, when you are speaking, don't just keep quiet about what you know or what you can add, right? Look at all these core functions, see what you can add, and then when you are speaking, try to infuse it in, like suggestions. Okay, we can make this experience better by doing this. It also shows that you think about the company and you're thinking of what value you can add to the company. Right. Learning and development. One of the places I work at, something I did where we had to divide people into cohorts. Somebody has said something like training groups into cohorts. And in these cohorts, we give things like case studies. So these are knowledge sharing sessions that we hold every month, where there may be case studies, there may be books, there may be competitions, to boost some of our skills, our presentation skills. And you find out that informal learning, people tend to learn a lot from their peers. Now, learning is learning, even if you are not spending money, right? And I said I was going to come to what Oluwafumilayo said when you talked about, paying. When you are in an interview and you're trying to, give some of these suggestions, try to stick to the things that would not cost money. I will speak about more of that so that we understand where I'm coming from in the interview phase, right? So for compensation and benefits, another thing I can add, even in the company I currently am in, right, is when they do maybe payroll for this month, what I try to do is to help finance department or internal audit to do their checks. I also want to do internal checks. So I do the one for last month. I get everybody's net pay and compare it to that of the current month. And if there are any gaps, I write out like remarks to say this is the reason for the gaps. That way, at a glance, you can tell if something is off, if something did not balance properly. If you can even explain every reason so that finance, they don't have to come and ask you, or audit, they don't have to come and ask you to begin to explain why this person was paid this now and paid this later. It helps. So for everything, employee relations, okay, this is one I'm interested in. Employee relations, it also involves employee engagement, and things like that. I want us to also write, what do you think you can add to make the employee engagements better in the company? Please quickly, at least like 5 people, quickly write what you think you can add to make the employee engagement or relations experience a better one. I just want to, see you. Team bonding sessions, rotate roles, okay? TGIF, lovely. Rotate job. So I like where you people are going to, because this was what I was expecting, to see. Surveys, beautiful. Now, wellness tips. Okay, I like that. Vision sharing sessions, role playing, win-win, lovely. So most of us we are getting the vibe, and I hope some of us here we are also learning. Town halls, help employees with IDPs, lovely. Please also look at your screen and ensure that you are learning 1 or 2 things from here. If you are not doing it, allow open discussions. Now, I was expecting to see things like TGIF, team bonding, I would like to tell, which I'm going to explain further in how to ace your interviews, is that whatever suggestion you are doing, let it tilt towards what will bring, value to the company rather than what would require spending. Why am I saying that? Because most times, you see, it's a problem that we HR have, trying to convince management. You have to convince them to be able to, to spend. But where you are unable to convince them, they want to see that you can also think of things that can add value that does not necessarily require spending. And where there is no spending happening yet, that you can also still add value. For instance, I like the focus groups. You can do focus groups when there is an issue or there is a project. Get people from different departments, from different rank, put them together, let them brainstorm and bring out something. That way they feel, that their voice matters, that what they say matters. And you begin to build that ownership mentality in them, right? Where they begin to look like, okay, I had a say, and this thing that I suggested was brought. So next time, if you want more suggestions, you see that people are quick to want to, and it doesn't end there. When you see people are really doing things like that, try to commend them. The commendation does not really need to even go to the money. It would be lovely to, even commendation from management saying that we recognize this team that was able to. You see, people begin to feel good about themselves. And it also helps them that even if they're leaving your company to go somewhere else, they have the bragging rights, to come out to say the team or part of the project that did this, and this, right? So also what I'm just imploring us to do is all of these core HR functions, in your own time, sit down, think of things you can add, preferably things that do not require spending money for now. And I know why I'm saying that, which I will explain later. Think creative things that you can add to when you finally get the job, to also apply these things so that you don't just get the job and you are doing what they asked you to do. Now you are thinking, so that I want to do this. It helps you to have a roadmap. You have a plan of what you want to achieve, how you want to improve the system, not necessarily change the system. So, and then I will go to the final point on how to ace: practice, practice, practice. Look, these days, most of our HR interviews require you doing presentation, right? And some people believe that they have good presentation skills. They do until they are faced with a panel, and then you begin to stutter. I've seen some interviews of people that they talk, they reach a point and they say, sorry, can I start again? That already has thrown you off, and it could dim your morale. So it is great that you practice, prepare any answer to questions that anticipate, brush up your presentation skills. You have your friends, you have your relatives, keep speaking, speak in front of them, practice in front of them, let them correct you, take the corrections until you know that you are good enough. At any point you are asked to do a presentation, you can address people, speak to a panel, speak to whatever caliber of people. Now, we also have these days when they do interviews, sometimes you are given some questions that you're required to put in presentation slides and to come present, to people, either virtually or physically. A tip is that most of the questions that you will be asked, sometimes it borders on the different functions of HR. Not necessarily maybe like learning and development. It may not be that specific, but also things like change management. We want to see what's your change, if you understand the change management process. What is your grievance procedure? Do you understand, what steps to take if there are issues? Performance management, when people are not performing well, what do? Do you just sack them? Are there things you can put in place to remedy the situation? You find out that most of the questions get into things like that. Things like attrition rates. What are the plans to bring it down? Truthfully, sometimes there may not be real plans to keep anybody that wants to leave, but there can be some things you put in place to even make the experience of employees enjoyable, that they are not in a hurry, to leave the company. So most of the questions borders on things like that. Try to think of situational questions, right? That borders on all of these things. Practice, ask yourself questions and think of the best way. Have HR friends, mentors or buddies, or even our HR groups. Guys, even in the current HR mentorship group we are in, we see that sometimes some people bring issues about their companies to say, look at this situation we are facing. What do we do? Don't just scroll past. Look at it. You may experience those kind of situations later, right? And it is better that you are prepared. You have different opinions of different people. When you have all the opinions, you sieve it and look at what is the best. So that if you ask that kind of question, you easily know situations or solutions to that kind of problem. This is all about practice. Please practice, practice and practice, right? Thank you. Hold on. So just in summary, I have said that you should research the company. This is how you prepare for, HR role interviews. Research the company, know your interviewers, ensure that your skills align with the job description, review your CV, understand core HR functions, and practice, practice, practice. With all of these things, you should be able to at least have confidence to get into the interview. Like I had said, I'm not bothering myself with go there on time, look the parts. We should know that it will not be a good thing that in 2023 we are still telling people things like that. But one thing I just want to also mention is, even if it is a virtual interview, and I see this sometimes with candidates, even if it is a virtual interview, look the parts. You can't wake up and be looking disheveled and put on your camera talking to people. If you do not take yourself seriously, you do not expect the interviewers to take you seriously. Look the parts like you are going for an interview. Don't take these things for granted. So that even when because most times you'll be asked to turn on your camera, look appropriate. Find out. If in doubt, be formal, right? If in doubt, be formal, where you are sure that you have researched the company's culture and you know that maybe they do business casual. Appear very good. Don't appear too casual, right? Let it even be that you overdress and you're underdressed, right? One thing is that in as much as people have their different preferences and companies have their different preferences, one thing that everybody wants and would agree on is that they like people that have charisma. You have to be charismatic. And when it comes to the Acing, I'll explain further on how you can fake it till you make it. Some people believe people are born with charisma, but not necessarily everybody. Some people, have learned and have practiced how to have executive presence, that when they go in, and they sit down, people take them seriously. You look like you're an important person. So just like on a quick note, I would like to say, which I think I had stated in the beginning, that many HR professionals are usually victims of complacency because, we believe that we are the ones that used to interview people. So you don't prepare, you just wake up and say, whatever they ask me, I already know HR, I should be able to speak about something. But that's lack of preparation. It can cost you your dream job, because the problem is that you have underrated the other people that will be interviewed to think that they also did not do their homework, or they did not come prepared. Now, what stands you out above people? What makes it different? If we are 6 people and I have to pick one, your preparation should stand you out, because you already have all the things that you have anticipated in place. It is easier for you to flow with the interview than someone who came unprepared. So on that note, we'll just go to how to ace your HR interview. And I hope that we've been following. If you've just joined now, I have given 6 tips on how to prepare for your HR interview. You need to research the company. You need to know your interviewers. You need to ensure that the job description aligns with your skills. And where they do not align, you should be able to explain that or find out information so that you can speak to everything in the job description. Review your CV, look at your CV and be able to speak to everything on your CV. Understand the core HR components. Think of new things you can add, innovative things you can add to all the HR functions so that you can easily give suggestions to the company. And also, if you had done your homework in researching the company, you can easily spot gaps and give suggestions of how to cover the gap, and also practice. I'll tell you one thing I'll talk about it when we are acing the interview. So for how to ace your interviews, also I came with 6 steps. And I'm saying that to ace a HR interview, an HR interview is not a matter of skill, but a matter of practice. Now, you find out that some people have wonderful HR skills, but they do not have interview skills. people that are coming for this HR interview, we all have our unique skills. We all have the things that make us stand out, but the difference is in the practice. So let me see. Okay. Welcome to all the new participants. I was just looking if there's any chats that required my attention. So I'll go into it and then we can wrap up. Hold on. So yes, to ace your interview skills, and this one is very important, you need to prepare your introduction. Now, typically, that's the first question everybody is going to ask you. They want to ask you to introduce yourself in different ways. Okay, let's meet you. Okay, introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself. Who are you? And things. And most people do not feel the need to be prepared for this question. What we do not know sometimes is that this question can throw you off balance. And if you notice how you are speaking and in your head, you are saying, this thing that is coming out of my mouth, this is not my best I'm doing. It can destabilize you. And because this can also set the tone, is the first question you answer, it can set the tone of your interview. It can make or mar you. If you don't think you've even answered the question well, you may find yourself not answering questions properly because your head is there thinking, did I nail it? What did I say? Did I say something wrong? And sometimes it's how you will overtalk that will bring about many questions that you may not even be able to answer. So please come with your, what some people call elevator speech. Have a story. Now, your story should be able to highlight your relevant experiences, your skills, especially your achievements. So it's not enough that you're just talking about the role of what I did. I was responsible for this. What did you achieve? As well as what value can you add to the company? Now, in speaking, they are listening to also see, is there any of these achievements that you're talking about or any of these skills that, can be of relevance to the company? So this is something that also, if you are giving a boring story or a boring introduction, you find out that some of the interviewers have logged off. They've zoned out. So you're just talking and talking. Also, let us also not just talk and say, okay, my name is Pearl. I'm humble and God-fearing and everything I do. I've seen that. You'll be surprised also from HR people. Then you say, okay, I worked in maybe Wamco Motors before coming here, and they are quiet, and everybody is looking at them and say, okay, continue. You don't want to have that. So come with a story. What I like to do, and okay, so I'm going to confess, I don't really enjoy reading. It's not a good thing, but I'm self-aware enough to know that I do not enjoy it. Why? I don't know why I cannot, concentrate for too long. I'm not going to self-diagnose. But then I find out that if something is too long, I just skim through it, right? I don't like taking my time to read things that are too long. Now, for me to be able to sit down to read a book or to read something that is too long, it has to catch my attention from the beginning. Anything that is capable of catching my attention or capturing my attention, you have my full attention. I would read everything there. But if I look at the first 2 pages and I'm not hooked, I fling it. I'm not interested, right? The same goes with your introduction. Typically, and I'll just run through a brief introduction for me. When you are asked to introduce yourself, I like to say things like, for instance, if I have not already said my name, during the first introduction, my name is Pearl Umer. I am a finance, investment, and risk management graduate turned HR practitioner. I bet you everybody's attention is like, huh? It's funny that in Nigeria, we all understand that usually what you study is not necessarily what you practice. But still, I always get that shock factor. Now, the moment I get the shock factor, I know that I have captured their attention. Then I begin to speak, that I have, I also have experience. I have done, like the introduction when Ogiebi was introducing me, retail marketing. I've worked in the finance sector, done retail marketing. I have done customer service. I've been an EA to the MD. I've done admin, procurement, facilities management. They are all shocked. But then also try to chip in that this speaks to my versatility. That anywhere you put me, I'm able to function, right? This is already me selling myself from the introduction that I've been able to work in different sectors, do different things. And not just that, I'm highlighting what I achieved. okay, even as without any prior project management experience, when I worked in admin, I was responsible for moving my head office and mainland office. I call it sometimes Pension Alliance Limited. If you know them, ask about Pearl. I was responsible for moving, relocating the head office to VI where they are currently and the mainland office. Now I'm speaking about what I was able to achieve. And now people saying that, okay, somebody that did not have experience was able to do this. Okay, this person may be of value to my company. So yes, let us not just wake up and begin to, run us through. Speak, but have a storyline of how you got to where you are currently. Right. And so most times when I introduce myself that I have a master's in investment and risk management, of course, I like to add from the University of East London. For some reason, it's I don't know why Nigerians they like to, know that you have something outside. It's if those are the kind of people that like to, by all means, play with whatever competitive advantage you have, and the question usually comes, in fact, they usually cut me before I'm finished. You say, so why didn't you practice? Now I know that I have the attention. Now it is now a dialogue, right? And I'm controlling the conversation. Okay, when I came into Nigeria, risk management and investment wasn't really big at the time. Then they are looking, okay, what time was that? That was 2013. It was still new. Then I tell them, if it's a financial sector, I try to chip in. It was Lamido Sanusi of CBN that popularized the risk management, and most people went into it. And this person even knows something. I'm referencing somebody in the financial sector who was a one-time CBN governor. And so I went into that. But when I came, I decided I wanted to work. So the job that was available at that service, I did it to the best of my ability, that I was known as a stopgap. When somebody was there, even at the front desk, covering for the front desk, the MD saw me and felt I was being underutilized. And while I did his EA, the HR department needed somebody to man the admin bit of the HR department. And the MD and organizing, this girl is good, try her. That was how I got into HR. Now I've talked about recommendation from different people. I've been able to sell a story to them on this is how valued. And the procurement bit, I was able to take care of facilities management. I was able to take care of the total office administration, recruitment, learning and development. I've spoken to being a HR generalist, that any part you are looking for, I have done it or I can do it. And given that I'm a HR, because I have experiences in these different parts, you know that, okay, because she has an idea of how procurement works, she can do it. So what I'm saying is you need to be able to tailor your introduction story, with all your highlights, your achievements, your skills, relevant experiences. Channel it. Don't just say anything. Be deliberate about what you say in your introduction. Sorry, yes. Refer to this one is a very interesting one, and I'm going to tell you a story about this. Refer to your interviewers by their names and role. Now, this seems like something that is nothing can impress interviewers. Okay, so I'm proud to say that I was opportune to be in a room where I was being interviewed. I was one of the interviewers in that room. And there was something that stood Oluyemi out, because the people that we were interviewing were big dogs in HR, right? What stood him out was that Oluyemi was able to remember every single person's, either your name or your role. Oga strategy, you understand? The ED will speak and he will say, Madam ED. Somebody else will speak, he will say, Oga audits, or he calls you by your name. That made people happy to say that, he even remembers, because prior to then it was a virtual interview, but he was able to remember he spoke to them by name. Now, for you to be careful, and another thing that I'm taking, it helps the culture. So if it's a culture where it's a first name basis, and that they insist that it's a first name basis, it's okay to do that. Go to your venue. If you have to be in a venue, you get there on time. Speak to the front desk person. There's a lot you can get from that person that will make you done outside. Speak to them, find out what's the culture like. What is it, a first name basis? Do you go by this? So you have an idea. While some companies may tell you that they go by first name basis, some people may take offense if you call them by their first name. So when in doubt, use the role. That's their job position or their job role. So you can speak to them like the way Oliemi was, calling everybody by the name. And at the end of the day, the interview felt like a conversation. It felt like he was already one of us, because he could refer to us by our name. So this little thing could be a competitive edge over another, interviewee. So I think it shows that you paid attention, probably when they were introducing themselves, or that you have even researched on them. It's just good to know that somebody, by their names. The third way to ace, your interviews is to highlight your values. Beautiful. I've been mentioning highlighting values since, but you may ask, what do you mean by highlighting? Highlight what values you can add. Now, there is this mistake that some people make during interviews, some HR people make during interviews. We try to convince the interviewers, for lack of a better word, that, we try to focus on our skills. Oh, I have the HR skills. I understand succession planning. I know how to do policies and things like that. While you are trying to convince them, you are not highlighting to the organization, right? And that was why we had that little chat. I'm seeing here that my connection is unstable. If you can hear me clearly, please write on the chat. Just write yes. Lovely. Thank you very much. Yes. So like I was saying, thank you guys. Rather than focusing and trying to sell yourself, say that, I'm a good HR person. I have done policies. I have done, I know the whole procedure. First, you must speak to them. Then you try to diffuse the situation. When in doubt, then maybe you have verbal warning. All of this, what value are you adding to the organization? One thing that we need to, some people who will be on that, if not everyone, it's either some people, if not everyone on that table, usually might be on the side of management, not necessarily on the side of a person. You should know that HR, we have different caps that we wear. We are the go-between, between management and employees. Management wants you to be on their side. Employees, you have to wear the cap that you're on their side. To management, you have to wear the cap that you're on their side. But you must be able to strike a balance. Now, most of the people that may be on that role in HR probably are, or they are management. So they err on the side of management. So you do not want to bring out some of the values that you add that would be focused on spending money. That will require spending. Yes, we know that to carry out some of our HR functions, money needs to be spent, but you should be able to think that will, help the organization without you necessarily spending money. And that was why we did that exercise when I said, for every core function, think, yes, if I come into this company, I will be able to transform your learning process by doing this, by, also ensuring that those who need training will get trained, but everybody will also get trained. Sharing sessions, if there is none already, if there is, it's beautiful. You can still build on that. You can now make people, put them into focus groups, to also help build their skills. Now, if people's skills are better, it helps everyone to be more productive, right? You should be able to speak on how you can make onboarding and recruitment, how you can make it seamless, what you can add to the table, what you can change. Focus on those things rather than trying to convince them that you know those things. It's not enough to know it. How bottom line? How does it tie to helping the organization get better? How does it tie? And another thing I like to do, especially when I get from the whole recruitment process, everything, I like to look for any way that there are gaps. If there's any place that there are gaps, I try to highlight it to say that, oh, I have seen this. For instance, someone, they wanted me to be their chief of staff, which is a HR function, by the way. And so it was something that the kind of tech that they do is tech for education. Different companies that want people to do assessment, maybe entry level, they provide a platform, a software where people can do the assessment on that, right? Also able to ask, say, oh, I'll ask the CEO, have you considered partnering with maybe the likes of ICANN, CIPM, some other bodies, such that people don't, the world is becoming global. People should be able to write it from different places. You can give a platform that people can, whichever country they are in, key in to write the examination. Visibly happy. He said, wow, these are the kind of things I want, more of that. By the time I mentioned it, I knew I had gotten the job. I was given the job. I turned it down by the way. Already just at the interview stage is already thinking of value she can add, of ways that the companies can even be better, the way to enhance what we are doing. So please just be on the lookout for things like that. It gives you an edge. Sorry. And so next is demonstrate your soft skills to your interviewers. Explanation is this. Most times we can say, and I've given an example here, that I'm a great communicator, I'm an excellent listener, I can do this, yada, yada, yada. Instead of telling them what you can do, show them. If you communicate excellently, speak properly, have your defined way of speaking. And one thing I understand is that sometimes during interviews, we tend to something, you digress, you enter somewhere else, you just ramble. And I will also teach you what you can do, how you can structure the questions, the answers to your questions. You understand the structure. You should be able to show them that you are great with communicating, right? When you're asked questions, understand the question. If you say you're a great listener, listen. When in doubt, seek clarification. Maybe you have said something and you're trying to counter what you said, you want to counter. I've had some people that are really defensive during interview. There was an interview I had, somebody that is very big in interview, because he did a presentation and we're trying to point out some things that he did not highlight. Bear in mind that maybe he could speak on it if he forgot to include them. And he got offended, I was saying he doesn't have to write everything down and start shouting at all of us. I'm talking about the executive management. They were there. He started, he could see his body language. He got frustrated, started shouting. Already, he had lost. When we were ranking candidates, we didn't bother ranking him because it was as good as he did not come. He threw himself out of the interview without us having to reject him. Do you understand? So show them those soft skills that you said. Those are demonstrated. Listen, when people sometimes correct you or say some things to negate what you have said, or they are trying to even tell you how you should have answered things better, it's okay. There's no need to come across as defensive. It also shows if you take to corrections, if this is somebody that is teachable. If you want to show that you're teachable, if they speak, you should be able to say, okay, thank you, and noted, rather than argue. So demonstrate your soft skills rather than, speaking about it. And then so we will go to the STAR method. I've said that we should respond to situational questions using the STAR method. I had said earlier, for some of you who have just joined, that, sometimes you are asked questions and you're asked to do questions and to give presentations to panels as part of your HR interviews. And I've said that sometimes this is the situation they've given. How do you react? How do you do this? How would you, take care of this situation? Which I had said that you should practice and practice. structure these answers we give so that we do not ramble using the STAR method. Simply, the STAR method is STAR, which is situation, task, action, and results. The STAR method helps you to you do not have to be, very articulate to be able to answer questions in a concise manner. If you have a structure in your head on how your questions should be, the answers you want to give, it is going to help you. So now STAR, basically the STAR method, if for some of us who do not already know about this method, is when it comes to the situation, you want to explain the situation, whatever, is it a project, an event, a challenge? Just tell us what happened, what was the context of that situation. What was your role? What was your responsibility in the situation? Then what are the actions, that you carried out to handle that task, right? You want to find out. And then what was the result you achieved based on the actions that you carried out? Now, I know that what I'm saying may sound like Greek, or maybe it hasn't settled in. So I give you this example. I'm also going to ask us questions so that we can attempt to answer this, use this STAR method to answer some of the questions I will ask you, such that if you are not doing it correctly, you can easily be corrected here. Like I said, it is better that you are corrected here than at the interview, where you may not have an opportunity to be corrected. So this one is actually a true life story. It is my story. Tell me about a time when you performed well under enormous pressure. So this is my story, and I'll just read out so that we understand, which is the first one. STAR. So the 4 colors you're seeing is for the situation, the task, the action, and finally the result. Okay, so one time at my former job, management mandated HR to set up a mainland and island office and move staff to these offices. That's the situation I've explained. Given that I oversaw the administrative function of HR as a junior staff, and this responsibility fell under the purview of admin, my line manager instructed me to handle the project, that is the task. With no prior experience in project management, I set up a team to handle this project, researched online on how it contained tasks, timelines, and responsible parties. I oversaw the team and insisted that we gave management a weekly report, to carry them along the process. That was the action. That was what I did. Staff resumed their new offices within the timeline, and I got commendation from management, and then I got promoted afterwards. That was the result. So I don't know if this is clear. If it is clear to us, I'm going to just ask us, a quick question, and then attempt to answer it using the STAR method in the chat. Right. So question, tell me about a time you had a conflict at work. Anybody, or as many of you that want to try it, tell me about a time you had a conflict at work. Try to answer it in the chat. You can keep it brief. It doesn't have to be as lengthy as what I've written, but use the STAR method. So tell us, what was the situation? What was your task in this situation? What was the action that was involved in carrying out that task? And what was the results, from your action? What results did you achieve from your actions? So please quickly tell me about a time you had a conflict at work. Somebody. Another person, can you describe a stressful situation and how you handled it? Quickly, let's see. Anyone trying? Try you. There's no wrong answer. It's just we can tell you how to go about it. Okay, quickly. If you can hear me, please say yes so that I know that you can hear me. Just type yes on the chat. I'm just seeing now that they said my network was breaking. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so that we do not take most of our times, we can maybe try this. Okay, someone said it's breaking. You can't hear me clearly. I'm sorry about that. Okay, some people can hear me. Sorry. Okay, so what I said, tell me about a time you had maybe a conflict at work. I will just read out, something so that we can get the drift of how to respond using STAR. There was a disagreement I had with a co-worker, which originated from a miscommunication. That's the situation. To keep our work environment professional and positive, we had to discuss it and make amends. That is the task. I sat down with them one day during lunch, paid for their meal, and took the initiative by apologizing for my part in the whole mess. That was the action. Now we work together well and are often praised for our impressive teamwork. That is the result. So this is how to use the STAR method to respond to questions so that it guides the way you answer. It gives you a clear and concise way of answering without you rambling. Right. Okay, I'm still hearing that it's breaking. I don't know if it's from me or from you. Some people say they can hear me. Oluyemi, please, do you want to confirm if you can, if I'm clear or if it's breaking?
So you are clear. Just
okay, thank you.
Continue. Thank you.
All right. And so finally, I said, communicate your unique selling proposition during the interview. I think it is very important that we determine what makes us, stand out and what makes us unique. Everybody, you have something unique about you that can stand you out in an interview. It is advisable that you determine what this thing is so that you can also use it when answering questions to see how it will add value to your role. Because every question that you have been asked is an opportunity to sell yourself. My USP basically is I've been able to handle different roles, in my surgeon of this. So like I said, I have been able to handle even things outside of HR. I'm a HR generalist. I know the recruitment, policy formulation, HR strategy, HR operations, the admin bits, office administration, procurement, facilities management, the whole fleet management as well. I've been able to handle, and so whenever I'm speaking, I try to highlight these things as my unique, selling proposition. Another thing is also that's just trying to know what your strengths are. Another thing is I am able to relate with every category of people because in the course of my career, I've had to deal with vendors, I've had to deal with the board, I've had to deal with every cadre of staff, even as management. HR, of course, we deal with management and even executive management. And I am able to manage and handle all of them because I already know, I'm able to read people, profile them, because I've had experience in dealing with people like this. It comes easy to me to look and say, okay, I know that executive management, this is the way they reason, this is the way they think, this is what we expect, and I can be that. As HR, we are what some people will call chameleons. You should know that we wear different hats, and you should be able to wear different hats depending on whatever situation it is. So that way, please, I would advise that if you do not already know your unique selling proposition, determine what is that thing that stands you out. What is that thing that makes you unique? If you have not even determined, you can ask people what they think about you, what they think that it is that thing that makes you unique. And also try to add it in your interviews. When you're speaking, that already shows people why they should take you over. You don't need to wait for the question of why should we hire you rather than somebody else. Begin to sell it in your interview. So with that, I have come, to the end of my presentation. Sorry if I took up the time. And I'm saying that having job skills is not the same as having interview skills. I've said that before. You could be great for a job, but you can fail at an interview. Practice makes perfect. So let us at every point practice and get ready to ace that interview and to get the job. So at this point, I'm really saying good luck to all of you who have interviews, to all of you job seekers. Be courageous, go out there, ace the interview, come back and give us, the testimonies. We want questions. If you have questions, please write this. And there's something, thank you very much. Thank you. I can see your comments. Quickly, does somebody, Oluyemi, you're also going to help me with this. Can somebody volunteer to be interviewed? Just quick interview. We're going to ask you some questions, see how you've answered these questions, and see what we can correct. There's one beautiful thing that you can also add. Something that you can also add, when you are doing, especially for people that have, if you do not have CSR in your company or you want to add. I was a beneficiary of something like when I was in UK, Barclays Bank back then, they brought some of us that were in school and took us to the bank to be interviewed by people in the bank. You know, you just go there. It was a mock interview. They interview you. Then afterwards, they will tell you what you did wrong and what you did right. And they'll tell you to brush up on this part. This is the way you should have answered that. It's a beautiful thing to do for people that are in school or youth corpers, especially if your job requires you to hire lots of these, fresh graduates. You can do that to begin to prepare them for them. Identify good schools. It could be a CSR initiative. Any of you that is thinking of something, you can add that. So thank you very much. Oluyemi, over to you. If somebody volunteers to be interviewed, me and Oluyemi will just ask you some questions and interview you, and let us see how well we can do it so that we can correct you here. So over to you, Oluyemi. And if you have any questions, please ask. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pearl. That was an excellent presentation. Very energetic, bumper to bumper. Okay, so if you have questions you like to ask our facilitator directly, you can raise your hands. Also, if you like to volunteer, we can do a quick 2-3 minutes mock interview with you right now live. Okay, who knows, your employer may be on this timeline.
Exactly.
So all you just need to do is to raise your hands to either volunteer for the mock interview or to ask your questions. And we are also
there's a Jessica that is volunteering. I can see Jessica.
You please unmute her if you've identified Jessica. Unmute her. That's Jessica Jeremiah, right?
Yes.
So I'm making her co-host.
Okay.
So Jessica.
Hello, Jessica.
If you also want to put on your video, it's fine. If your condition permits you right now. But at the minimum, you can at least unmute and talk to us. Jessica, are you shy?
Jessica, please unmute so that you can speak.
I hope she wasn't joking.
Okay, it will be nice. Okay, thank you. What is that?
I'm just saying, okay, accolades.
Thank you.
Okay, Oluwapelumi. Okay. I think Oluwapelumi will be a good spot. Let me find you and make you. I'm looking for you so that I can enable you to speak. Okay, I've spotted you. You can do it now.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am. Glad to be here.
Good evening.
So which role would you like to be interviewed for?
The role of a project manager.
Okay.
Over to you, Pearl.
All right, sorry, Olupelumi or Oluwapelumi, please correct me.
Oluwapelumi.
Okay, I'll call you Pelumi. Okay, so Pelumi, thank you very much, for your time and for volunteering. Okay, so please tell us about yourself. Let's meet you. Take us through your career history.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I am excited to be having this interview. My name is Oluwapelumi, where I studied economy.
Am I the only one that...
I hope the village people are not interfering with his network.
I'm back.
Okay, go on.
Yes, in the last 5 to 6 years of my life, I have had the opportunity of managing people, managing projects, managing events. But the highlight of the project was in 2019 when I had the opportunity of managing some people who I had a project to conduct a seminar in 4 different southern states in Nigeria, and to achieve the goal of helping 500 farmers know how to use digital tools. I did this employing ad hoc staff at different points in time, giving them tasks to do, deadlines and times, brought in people.
Okay, he has disappeared again. I think he's having bad net. Pelumi, can you hear us?
I am back. I don't know what the network is going off and on. But what I was saying before I left was the highlight of my journey so far. That highlight basically. The first was in 2019, where I had the opportunity of managing a project of farmers in Akwa State, and the idea was to train 500 farmers to know how to use digital tools. That I did by employing ad hoc staff at different points in time. We had tasks to do. We had stakeholders to meet, and we had conversations every single time. Communication was key to how much we were able to achieve. And for folks, I thought we achieved.
Okay, also he has left. So another thing we should want to do, and just something to learn from it, I think he has joined back, is try to keep it brief and have a story highlighting the don't carry on for too long, otherwise some people would zoom off. Another thing I would just like to say that I could also sense from when he was speaking is the energy. Now I'm just going to say this: there's some people that they talk so dull, right? They speak in a very slow and dull manner that makes it sound boring to those that are listening to them. For example, somebody is talking and the person says, "My name is Moji. I did HR in Global Gwarimpa campus. After then, I then decided to, why? Just keep it upbeat. Nobody likes someone that they cannot hold conversation with. I'm not saying, take it as a joke. Interview is serious business, but try not to be boring, right? Okay, someone said he's sounding boring because he's been kept waiting for hours. Yes, at the end of the day, you want a job, right? Is asking, how can I build confidence when talking to the interviewer? Okay, another thing I did not mention, which I believe that most of us should know, is your body language can give you away. And what builds your confidence is doing your research and also practicing. Now, the most critical people, you may be surprised, are not even people that do not know you, are people that know you. When you have to do something in front of them, the fear that you may fail or they may laugh at you, it kills your morale. So when you have done your research, speak. If you know what you're saying, let me tell you something. If you know what you're saying, there's a tendency that you are able to speak properly. You're able to speak with confidence and to be shy. Another thing I will tell you is that I used to be very, very shy. I used to be very shy. I saw that I was losing lots of opportunities. So I just ensure that I know everything. I go in there, try to maybe, say, when I'm even speaking and talking about myself and conversation comes in, it makes me ease up. I stopped pretending to be bold until I became bold. Now, people who know me, if you tell them that I'm shy, they will tell you that they do not believe it. Fake it till you make it. Do your research. If you know what you're saying, there will be no need for you to not have confidence. And someone also asked how to follow up with recruiters after being interviewed, called or emails. This is funny because after your interview, you can thank them for the interview. Personally, I do not follow up. It's two things. If I'm having to follow up and to remind you, then probably you do not know. But what I would advise is after a week from your interview, you can send a mail. You can send a follow-up mail. I would not advise you to do calls because some people, especially in our Nigerian space, they feel call is a bit intrusive. and they may take it a wrong way. So it's okay to follow up. If after a week they haven't gotten back to you, you can send an email, just to request for updates. Thank you for that question. Glasses to the hall if we are shy.
Mercy says, how can I build confidence when talking to the interviewer? Mercy.
Yes, I think I have. Yes, I think I have, to build confidence means that you have to come prepared. And when you come prepared, do not try to fiddle. So sometimes inside, you may not be confident, but the trick is to not show it outwardly or by your body language. Do not twiddle your thumb. Do not shift up and down. A stance, probably maybe your hand is resting, that does not keep you from wavering. Take a stance, and when they ask you questions, if you know what you're saying, internalize it and just respond. I believe that most people tend to lose their confidence when they do not know what to say or when they do not have the answer. So just try mention, and I think it's important to say, and it also has to do with knowing your interviewers, is that we Nigerians, when we talk about confidence, or sometimes we are confident and assertive, to foreigners, it comes off as being aggressive, and they do not like that. So if you find out that maybe some of your the interviewers are maybe foreigners, I think it is preferable that while you answer, I know this thing, I said it, I do it this way, I do that. It may come across as, why are you being aggressive? They are more, soft-spoken. Soft-spoken is different from speaking boring or being very dull. You can pass across your message without necessarily, shouting. And that's why I'm saying how to speak with them. Somebody's hand is up. I think it's Jessica. Okay, without practical. Okay. Okay. Tochu, without practical experience in some HR value chain or with a narrow HR experience, how can I convince the recruiting panel to take a chance of experience to share using the STAR method? Beautiful. Like I said, during your preparation, think up scenarios and be able to respond to that scenario. Now, when we ask you about maybe conflict resolution, tell us a time you had to deal with conflict resolution. May not necessarily mean that you have HR experience, but you've had conflicts with people. So think about some of these situations to say that, okay, I had conflict. How did I deal with it? With conflict, not necessarily that you must have had, conflict. So in answering that question, okay, what was the situation? Or me and somebody, or maybe even me and my brother, in some cases, you can use any experience that does not necessarily. Me and my friend, we were supposed to work together on a simple project. That is the situation. I was supposed to maybe bring, get some people, maybe money. That is the task, and that was your role. Now, what the action now is, I was able to, okay, no, so we're supposed to bring, and then after I brought the people, he refused to bring the money, and we were left. People that came in, I had to pay them. I had to use my own, maybe a pocket. I have to pay them out of my pocket. This is the task. And then what did you then do? So after going to do them something for free, and I also have to talk to my friend. We had to have a sit down, and I told him that this thing you have done now has cost us some money. Going forward, you tell me what you're comfortable doing, and then I will do the other one. Pick so that you would not, there would be no default from your own end. Then the results, at the end of the day, we're not able to work together. We're able to appease the people. We did something free for them, and we're able to work together. So you can use STAR to respond to any experience. HR experience. You must have been able to experience this thing. Maybe a grievance procedure. If you know how grievance procedures are answered, just structure it using your own role. What is the action and what was the result you got? Okay. Yes, I might have to stop here. Okay, which certification is preferable? So all certifications are preferable. HRM, both are preferable. I was not in the country when I did my SHRM, so I wanted to have something global that, you know, could speak to anywhere, and I decided to do that. But CIPM is very important. As long as you're practicing in Nigeria, it's also even advisable to be a part of the CIPM body, and SHRM. They are all here because of time. Oluyemi, please, over to you.
Thank you so much, Pearl. This has been extremely insightful. I'd like to celebrate you. We had a full house today. Absolutely important topic by an important facilitator. We apologize to the people who tried to get in and we had maxed out. Tonight, we will release the recording on YouTube. Check Oluyemi Adeosun and you will check tonight's session and the over 200 sessions. While you are here, Pearl, we also had many visitors and friends and guests. You know, maybe I should attempt to mention maybe one or two. I saw people like Chiamaka on this call. I saw people like Thank God on this call. Apparently, Pearl, you have a lot of fans, you know, globally. And I see people like Moji Garba from Nasarawa. Thank you so much, my sister. I see my brother here, Abimbola Fisher. Thank you so much. I see Adiola Adekpegba, MCIPM, a member of the Chara Institute of Personnel Management Governing Council. I wonder why you are here on a program like this, but it shows you the level of humility and commitment and level of attention to today. I also saw the great legendary Emmanuel Michael, you know, learning with EM, who was also part of this session almost throughout the entire session. Thank you, everyone who came tonight. We'll do this again. Thank you so much, Pearl. From my heart, thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
All right, thank
Bye.
you. I see you. I know my
everyone.
husband is on this call as well. My friend from South Africa. I see you guys. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ume. Thank you, sir.
Have a nice day, guys. Bye. Good night.